Peter Lengkeek and Machapado. I just want to say I love you, and I thank you for taking your time to be here to share and to learn and to bring understanding to something that we're trying to do. We're really trying to connect our people back to the horse nation. And the sooner we do this, the better off our nations are going to be. I'm so humbled, so honored to sit here with men that I look up to, men that are heroes to me, like John Eagle, Sean Bordeaux, Delaney, and Greg. I've learned a lot from these men, and very honored to be here with them and all of you. But I want to talk a little bit about a horse wellness program we implemented into our grade school, middle school, and high school there at Crow Creek. That really came about out of a great need. You know, sitting here listening to these different ones speak about, these different programs and things and philosophies and understandings and how we view these types of things as it pertains to healing. Like I said, we're all doing work to try and reconnect our nations back to the horse nation. And the benefits that come from that are lifelong benefits. Lifelong teachings that can do nothing but guide you into a healthy path for your life and your loved ones. The horse can do that work. We really understand that that separation from the horse nation that John Eagle was talking about is a trauma, he said, that we haven't even addressed yet, that we don't understand it, but we know that it's there. And so, how do we address it? What do we do about that trauma? A long time ago, the tactics of the U.S. government and the Army was to attack the camp, burn everything, take everything, destroy everything, kill everything you can. And those tactics went on for many, many years against our people. After a while of doing that, they noticed that these same people had TVs again, had everything they needed. They didn't understand that connection we had to Mother Earth and the universe. Yeah, they can destroy all those things, but we get it all right back. And that was frustrating to the Army and the United States government, because they did everything they could to destroy us. Mind you, we have survived countless annihilation orders, countless pandemics and epidemics that were brought here. And it's the horse that helped us to get through those things. We understand that, or the government came to understand what our Achilles tendon was. They figured out that if they could separate us from the horse nation, that we could be beaten. And so they did that. They separated us from the horse nation. They talked at the pony claims here this morning. Well, Crow Creek is a part of that also. They came and took 250 horses of my grandma's. Her name was Eagle That Bites, out of Big Bend. And so that trauma that John Eagle talked about, that separation, is very, very true. And it's very live and very real. But we can see the healing of that trauma when we place a small child next to that horse. There's some things that a horse can do that we don't understand. That's why we call them wakam. We don't need to understand it. It's not for us to understand. We just have to accept it. And we see that play out with our children. They don't even have to touch that horse. They can just be downwind of it, smell the beautiful smell. And all start to, hey, this is familiar to me, even though I've never been around it. Like it was said before, it's in our DNA. It's also, we are also in the horse's DNA. That separation from us caused them hurt too. They have to know that they belong to somebody. And so do we. The sooner we understand that, the better off we'll be as a nation. And we'll be able to take advantage or use the healing properties of that horse. They're there. We just have to accept it. And we see children accept it on a daily basis. We implemented this program in 2021, 22. 21 we had started. After about 12 years of annually bringing this program to the school board and trying to explain it, but it kept, I don't know if they didn't want to hear it, didn't want to understand it, but it kept getting denied. All of a sudden in 2020, a Kujat came, a sickness. It took a lot of people from us there at Crow Creek. It made orphans out of some of our children. And we were starting to see behaviors in our school amongst our little children that we've never seen before, if you can imagine that. We started to encounter situations and issues that we've never encountered before amongst our children. What was going on here? What is going on? After prayer and offerings, we figured out it was grief and mourning that was affecting our school system, our children, because of all the loss. We went a few years without a counselor there during that time. I would come and be counselor there and help out. Teachers, people would step in wherever they could. Finally, we said, it's time for this horse program. So I had the government threw a bunch of money at everybody. I call it ARP, COVID funds, CARES Act funds. And the school was a recipient of that. And so we sat down as leadership and figured out how can we best, most effectively use this money to protect our children. And so everybody started coming up with ideas. After that was all done, I asked a question about the horse program, about implementing this horse wellness program because of the lack of counselors and therapists in the Crow Creek area. We got to do something, I told them. But what we're doing isn't working. I pointed out the window and I said, look there. There's a nation there waiting for us to come to them and obey them. They have some things that they want to share with us so that the school board will go. Are you Jess? No. They're four-legged relatives right there. And I talked about this program to them. And we used them CARES Act money to start this program. And here comes the Bureau of Indian Education. We don't think that's a good idea. We can't have that here. So I stood my ground. And I told them, what you're doing here isn't working. I said, we're going to use this relative to culturally address the physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional health of our children. You guys can turn around and look the other way while we do this, but this is going to happen. shut the program down, they figured out that we weren't going to budge. And so they turned around and looked the other way. And we're still operating it today. We're very fortunate to have a tribal member among us that knows this medicine. Great club. This is a model that we've implemented there that was based in the Dakota culture and horsemanship. It started out as a non-contact model. It kind of followed EGALA. And EGALA is an acronym for Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association. It's kind of like the world standard of horse-assisted therapy and psychotherapy and different models that they use. But many years ago, when I come back from the Marine Corps, I fell into addiction, became suicidal. And it was the horse nation. It's the reason why I'm walking this earth today. It is because of them I get to live. This model that we implemented there is, like I said, a non-contact model, and it's based in trauma work. A lot of people, when I try to explain that, they say, what does that look like? And so I'll give you a brief description of how a session would go. No matter what it is we're suffering from, that horse knows it. And it'll communicate that back to you if you don't know what that is. It mirrors it. I've been doing horse-assisted wellness for about 15 years now. And I've been doing it out of my home. I don't charge anyone for it. I have a background in mental health and behavioral health. And for a time there, worked at the behavioral health at the Indian Health Service and tried to implement these things, culture and horse, into the behavioral health program. But they didn't want nothing to do with it either, so I stepped away from there. But did my own thing. Today, we work with women on Wednesday nights and men on Thursday nights. Usually youth on the weekends. But of course, we don't have an indoor facility, so we have to wait for the weather. But we do other things during those times. But this program at the school is based a lot on what we started doing 15 years ago with the horse. After I realized that I'm walking this earth because of this horse, I knew I had to share it and help others to live through that relative. And the very first thing we do with a child, let's say a child in school is having a hard time. Usually we send them home for suspend them or ISS or something. But now that we have this program, we send them out to the horses. No need to send them home. No need to discipline. No need to make things worse using those methods. And the washichu. We have this child come up to the horse, and we put their noses together so they can breathe each other's breath. In the washichu world, they call that imprinting. To us, that's binding our spirits together with that horse. When we do that, when we exchange breath with that horse, from now until the end of time, that horse is going to be able to find you in a crowd of a million people. And even in the spirit world, this horse will come find you because you did that with it. You exchange breath. Your spirits are intertwined now. So we have these children do that with these horses. And then we might tell this child, we might put a log out there in the middle of the arena and bring that horse up to it. Tell that child, try to get that horse to step over that log without touching it, coaxing it, making noise, communicating, or physically touching it, and no startling and no scaring it. Get that horse to step over that log. 99.9% of people can't do it, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in that process. What did that child do in that 15 minutes? Because it only takes 15 minutes. Did that child give up? Did that child get mad and frustrated and try to make it, force it to do it? Or did that child stick with it and think, and did that child think outside the box? Is it still trying to get that horse to step over that log? And in that 15-minute process, that horse is speaking to you through its body language. Within 5-10 minutes of that horse standing next to you, that horse is communicating to me what's going on inside here. And then that's how we plan the discussion afterwards. Hey, I noticed out there, you got frustrated and mad instantly. You wanted to walk away, you wanted to throw something at this horse. You know, and then we kind of go into that discussion if we need to. That debriefing, processing of that 15 minutes. And that processing of that 15-minute exercise, that child starts to understand what they're doing. And that reflection of that horse back to them helps them to understand how they got to that point. How they got to that way of thinking. You know, over the years, I've worked with a lot of soldiers of PTSD. I've worked with trafficking victims. I've worked with domestic violence victims. And this is the only thing out there that is working. The only thing that is effective at healing trauma in our people. Like I said, in my mental health background, we tried many, many different things. But that Western modality, to them, it's all in your head. But we understand trauma to be a somatic experience, a full body experience. And that's how we have to address it. And it's the horse that does that. It gives us those skills of healthy relationship, healthy communication, healthy coping skills, healthy boundary setting. And one that always got me in trouble was how to honor boundaries set by others. We can learn all this from the Horse Nation. They teach us that and many other things. And our children pick it up instantly. So I have a beautiful relative. We invite all of you, any of you want to come to Crow Creek and see this process play out, and see how this program runs. Come. Come up there and visit. We'll share everything we can with you. We want to see this program implemented in all schools eventually. But I don't want to talk too much about the nitty-gritty of the program. That's going to be Grace going to take the mic here and talk a little bit more in detail about that. But I just kind of wanted to share with you what we put in place there and how it come to be and the direction we're going to go with it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention men like Wilfred Keeble, George Howe, and others, Christy Young, and others in our community that work with our youth and take our youth on horse rides and spend time with our youth transformation. Those grassroots efforts are more powerful than anything the government can bring. So I have my relatives, my beautiful relatives. I love you and I thank you for your time. Oh, Goshen.